Okay, so how's everybody doing? So this is the painting phase, and this is part 5A, and this is one of the most important clips in this whole process. So if you skip it, don't blame me if things don't work out for you. Now, as a young burgeoning modeler back in the day, I never paid attention to terms like glazing, um, you know, washes, things like that, right? I mean, I learned a lot of about that, or it became readily apparent to me in the film industry when they're using it on sets. And as a scenic painter myself, my eyes were opened. And I know that it's not wasn't a new thing because it existed in the art world, the technique of glazing. But as modelers, these are things that we pass over because they seem insignificant, but they're not. And if you want to grow in your ability to paint and weather and create a more realistic illusion, as I've been demonstrating, you need to learn this technique. Um, so, I mean, I know it's probably not popular, but then I think somebody made a comment that some of this stuff is not for the average model or whatever. Well, I like to think that it is because I think it's just part of the process. It doesn't mean everybody can do it right away, but if you actually put it into practice, you're going to get good results either way, like better than what you have been getting. But it's just diving in and doing it right. Okay, so glazes, right? The barrier, I also call it, and I'll just point that out to you because I can't go any further into the next acrylic paint coats that will go over top of this lacquer barrier, which I'll describe the reason for the madness here. So this was done with the Rust-oleum, which is lacquer based. Um, should just raise that James mentioned about I like Krylon better, and he's right, I do too, but there was none. The shells were empty, so that's a testimony how good a spray bomb lacquer paint it is. This takes a while to dry. I wouldn't put acrylic on this yet. It needs another 24 hours just to be safe. I want it to be hard and dry. And when it does harden, it becomes impervious to isopropyl alcohol, right? So as you can recall, for those of you that are following this series, you'll know that from the yellow building I did, between the pink building and the trees, you saw how I washed away Tamiya acrylics. There were layers laid on, and as you washed away with the airbrush like a pressure washer, sometimes you'll cut right through to the very bottom layer. Now, if you're really well practiced in it, you don't often have to do this, but this is a good safeguard, and it'll also work in your favor if you make a mistake and take too much of this off, because you're just going to end up with this espresso coffee brown color with the nutmeg and the beige bleeding through these gray colors. That's the whole reason for it, right? So that you don't end up with the white plastic showing through and then having to repair it. Like that can get out of hand. I mean, it can be beneficial if you can really control that bleed factor or the stripping away, but this is a safe way of doing it, and it has lots of surprises in store for when you make mistakes, and that's what I've been trying to stress all along, right? So after this is dry, I'm going to lay on coats of these grays. Like I'll list these. Like this is Tamiya acrylic isopropyl based. So this is like deck tan. I'll explain to how I use that in the next phase. And then these are like, that's JN Gray XF12. This is Sky Gray, which I like to use a lot for roads and concrete. But it's just one of the many layers, right? That's XF19. And then this one is Dark Sea Gray, and it's XF54. But I added some blue to it from another application. I like a little blue in my grays. But so what I'm going to do is in the next episode, when this all cures and it's safe and ready to go, I'm going to start laying on coats like this, like I demonstrated in some of the earlier videos. I'm going to demonstrate that as well. And I'm just going to play around and have fun with this paint, right? Because what it ends up being after airbrushing it are going to be rough cuts in with the darker colors again, and then lighter highlighting. I'm going to kind of repeat this process, but in a more fine scale way, I guess, or finer application, or more methodical. And then once that kicks, I mean, in a matter of half an hour, not even. It's a beauty of acrylics, they dry so fast. But this is an acrylic, right? Anyway, this is the barrier coat, the first glaze. In a way, it's not a true glaze because it's not clear, but you get the picture, right? So, like in this diagram that I've shared with you before, here's the plastic model layer. Here's the texture layer with the gesso and the grit layer to get this texture, remember? And then this is this Rust-oleum layer, which is lacquer. There's three colors. There's the espresso, the nutmeg, and the beige. I just hit it with espresso. It covered it in like 10 seconds, and then a couple of squirts of nutmeg, and then light over top. Nothing fancy, and then walked away. Then when this cures, this surface will be impervious to isopropyl alcohol, which will be these subsequent layers of Tamiya that I'm going to lay on, and then remove with just pure isopropyl alcohol, right? So that layers are randomly stripped away. Remember I told you I'm just going to tilt this up with a clamp behind it, and then I'm just going to spray and start work and let it run and let it do whatever it wants. You just can go at it, go at it, go at it. And if you don't like, you can add more paint, right? You just keep going at it and like something, oh, that's such a waste. Well, that's why we use cheap isopropyl alcohol, right? Like nobody's going to do that with the manufacturer's thinner at $10 a bottle this size when you can do it for 20 times the amount at a fifth of the cost with isopropyl. So that's the reason behind that. And then that's up to each individual how they decide what they like at the end. And you really can't go wrong, right? Like it's going to come out different every time, but you're going to have all these layers working together randomly. And you're not even going to be in as much control as you think, but you're going to watch, because it's actually the little power washer isopropyl washing away of paint is what really does all the work for you. Okay, so look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Excuse me. Thanks for tuning in, and thank you to all my subscribers, and I hope that you have a great day.